How do you perceive me?
I mean, you are full of energy. You're full of wisdom. You are somebody who's lived this incredible life, and you like to make people laugh too. That's what I'm getting here from the first few minutes of talking to
Well,
you.
that is me, and I sort of, well, I've got to meet him, and I'm sure I can stimulate him. It's
Yes,
like
I have no doubt about
it's
that.
like the female fans of Star Trek.
Mhm.
Uh, they loved Spock, who was totally without emotion.
Hmm.
He was keenly intelligent. He was commanding with his intelligence, but had no sense of humor because he didn't have that quality. He was a hybrid of human and Vulcans. And these female fans thought they're the ones who can bring out some of that human quality in Spock. And, and I guess I have that feeling about Ken Liu, that I can get him to be more externalized, not so cool and dispassionately
Well, it's amazing
observing
how
humankind.
art can have that impact on people, whether it's writing, whether it's TV show, a movie. You mentioned Star Trek, and for me, listen, man, I'm 27. Like, you were doing your thing well before I was even on this earth. So give me the picture. Like, how does Star Trek blow up into this major deal, and how did that change your life ultimately?
Star Trek is twice as old as you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Star Trek is 54 years old now, and you're 27.
I'm 27. Yeah, it's got a few years on me at this point.
Well, you are the future of Star Trek. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're that generation. Um, what did what's the impact of Star Trek on me? When I was cast previously, I've been working. I was a working actor. Did I tell you I've been doing interviews, so I forget what I shared. My first gig was dubbing in English dialogue to a Japanese sci-fi film.
Wow. And that's all
It,
the way back in the 50s, right?
that was back in the 50s, yeah.
Wow.
I guess I told that to the previous journalist, but my first paying gig was dubbing in English dialogue to a fantastical Japanese science fiction film. Uh, this creature, this prehistoric creature that was sealed hermetically in a cave,
Wow.
but radiation is what brings him to life and terrorizes Japan. Japan was terrorized by radiation. Obviously, this was post-war Japan, and anything having to do with radiation was a monster, horrific and destructive. And it was a cheapo sci-fi film, but because it was a kind of action sci-fi, uh, these producers of cheap films imported it and wanted to dub in English dialogue so that it can be marketed to the American audience. And they were hiring what they called Japanese voices. Now, I like to think I'm Japanese and I have a voice, but I don't think my voice could be racially categorized. But
Right.
they thought I was a Japanese voice, and so I was an architecture student at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and this was summer vacation. I was back home in Los Angeles, and it was my father that actually saw the ad in the paper, and he said, "You don't have a summer job and you're a ham. Why don't you go and look into this gig that they're advertising for?" And I auditioned and I got that job. And so my very first job was working with my voice. And here, the most recent job is
Here you are
working
doing
with
the
my
same thing.
voice. There's that circle. Maybe that's an indicator of where my career has gone. It started that way, and I'm back where I began. Except that was a lot of yelling and screaming and oh my God, horrible, scary, that sort of
Right.
acting. So I'd like to think that reading sci-fi film stories, short stories, is a leg up on that. uh, so- those horror films.
Well,
Um,
I think it's cool that you've touched on all these different chapters of science fiction. So you mentioned that first part. Then you had, the time on the Twilight Zone that you got to do, and Star Trek now, and obviously you're here. I mean, you've had so many amazing experiences, and like even the original Twilight Zone. Like I can't even imagine like people sitting in their living room watching that. Like even the one in 2020 hits you on a different level. But like, what was it like when the Twilight Zone was first out and you got an opportunity to do that?
well, that was even before Star Trek.
Right.
Star Trek was 1955, and Twilight Zone was um, no 65, 1965, and Twilight Zone was, I think, 1962 or three thereabouts. Um, I was a fan of Twilight Zone already, and I thought particularly Rod Serling, who was the host of the show, had a fantastic voice, great, rich, deep, basso profundo voice, and his writing was wonderful. In fact, I discovered Rod Serling even before he did Twilight Zone. There was back in the 50s an amazing television series called Playhouse 90. Have you heard or read about it?
I have not. No. Give me the lowdown here.
It was a 90-minute live drama, original drama, written by some of the brightest up and coming young writers of the time. People like Patty Chayefsky, Reginald Rose,
Wow.
Rod Serling. And I think it was Rod Serling that wrote Requiem for Heavyweight, Requiem for a Heavyweight, which was a powerful piece of television drama. And they cast some of the bright, up and coming young actors of the time: Geraldine Page,